Hey, everybody. Welcome. This is the Catch Up with Rohan and Stephanie. My intrepid co-host is Stephanie Kendall over at From Dirt We Grow. And I'm Rohan Firminger with National Update Today. So, what a week. What do you think, Stephanie?
What a week is right. But hey, that we can say that every week. So I guess it's nothing new.
So what we got? Bolton. We've got the mail-in ballot business. We've got DC
letting Trump off. Yeah, letting Trump off of another yet again fraud situation.
The Newsom memes, which are hilarious.
Newsom,
we'll cover that.
My guy.
And then Trump getting off with $527 million. Yeah, $1 million.
Yeah, million. yeah, you read that right.
New York court, appellate court ruled it. Said no, you don't have to pay. It's all right. You're the president.
The thing is,
we love you.
He put up a bond of $175 million. How many people can do that? And then to say that the $527 million is violating his Eighth Amendment rights, which is ridiculous, because how is that too much for a man that can pay $175 million?
Well, it's almost like having a platinum card in the billionaires club. If you're a billionaire, it's okay. Okay, so perhaps we should tell people what's going on. There was a fraud case where there was there was a fraud. I'm going to try again.
Take 3.
There was a fraud case where there was over misrepresentation or whatever to insurance companies and to banks. So it's fraud. And literally from 2014 to 2021, there was anywhere from, I think it was 815 million to 2.2 billion per year from 2014 to 2021. 2.2 billion was the top end. 815, I think it was, or somewhere in there, 827 million or something like that. So almost $1 billion. Well, by a couple of $100 million just between friends. I mean, when you're the billionaires.
What's that when you're a billionaire?
But they basically defrauded insurance companies and banks. So it's really terrible. Oh, no. It's not like they defrauded people. They defrauded banks and insurance companies.
They did,
and
though.
I think that's why people, well, they might have, I don't know. But
they did.
What it was overstating the value of their properties and things, or understating, or whatever
crime.
It is. They were claiming things that weren't true. And this was all documented, and Letitia James prosecuted it, and he was found. And here's the thing. The appellate court then ruled on this. They didn't say, oh, no, that's wrong. They upheld the fact that the fraud had been conducted, but because it was a civil court, there's no criminal. This is the other thing. Why was he not charged? And I was going to divert and spin this because he's attacking Adam Schiff for a $70 paperwork error and calling that the fraud of the century kind of thing. What did he say? He literally said, he's ripping off America. And he was saying that basically Schiff should be in jail. And this is what the right-wing media is spinning. A $70 a year, and I'll explain how that works, $70 a year tax break, which was in error, not like it was contrived, against a well-configured, well-thought-out, amounting to $2.2 billion per year, swinging whatever. So just think about it. Compare that to $70 a year. Does that make sense? And yet Schiff should be in jail, but Trump, it's okay. And so this appellate court ruled. In fact, one of the judges went against the ruling and said that they should actually dismiss the case. But they did find that there was definitely fraud. Letitia James was successful in that. The appellate court ruled, oh no, we're going to forgive you the 512 odd million that was owing. And by the way, I think it was originally 376 or something million, but it grew because he didn't pay it. So he got accrued interest.
It was 355 million that accrued interest. That is now over 527 million. That includes Trump and his sons. I got the notes for you. Sometimes I have facts. Sometimes I have facts, but usually I'm no, but this is according to The Guardian. Let's put that out there. 55 million was what the original, they found that Trump was engaged in fraud by flagrantly padding financial statements that went to lenders and insurers. So, and now it's over 527 million. And this also included his sons, Eric and Donald.
That's right. Yeah. John Jr. as well.
Yep. So
it was a family affair.
It was a family affair, which, it runs in the family.
Apples don't fall very far from the tree, they say.
Not at all. And the apples from the tree know that they can get away with because of who their tree is. So,
and it's like I was saying, it's like the Platinum Club for billionaires. It's in the billions. Well, so that's all right. We'll just clear it. But if you or I or the people watching, if any of us did anything even remotely like this, they would have thrown the book at us. I was just thinking, perhaps we should do something that's funny and amusing while we, so it's not all doom and gloom, because there's a few serious, heavy topics, but let's do a light time. My favorite thing at the moment, the thing I'm happiest about, is Gavin Newsom and the memes and trolling Trump with big caps and all of that.
Love that
and
guy.
Did you see that the Fox people went nuts saying, "Oh, you're being childish"?
As they're like a person in your stature, in your status shouldn't be. Where's your wife? That's what they're saying. Where's your wife?
She was saying,
She would be saying, you're so childish right now. Yeah. Oh my God.
I would tell you to be more responsible, and if you want
audacity,
your big job, if you want an even bigger job, like Trump.
The United States is the main one
they don't understand irony. They don't understand they're getting trolled. And I mean, it's a lot of people saying you hold a mirror up to them.
Where's your wife? I couldn't believe
MAGA
that.
Fascists.
Oh my gosh. It's just so a double standard. And it's so, I just don't know.
Did you see this, he's riding the Californian bear, and then he's on a velociraptor. And then there's flags and him with big muscles and all these women swooning over him and all these crazy memes. I actually did some too. And I did one.
Did you?
With, you remember how Trump, when the Pope was dying, had a meme of him as the Pope? So to parody that, I made Newsom as the Pope. And
nice.
Exorcising MAGA.
Nice. I like that. I got to see that.
I'm sure the MAGA people are going to come hunting for me, but I was laughing.
When aren't they? So bring them on. I got to see that one. That's good.
And the other one I have is George Gavin. Washington, or in that period, sitting on a horse with a huge American flag, although the American flag didn't exist then. So it's apocryphal. It's not accurate, but it's like those big flags for
which is why it's funny. Come on. Yeah.
And I had that. And one was, what was it? Commander in meme. So
you got to show me these.
I posted it on my channel, and it's got a little, one of those things where you get to select. It's like a poll, and I got 4 different ones there.
Ah, okay. Well, then I'm going to have to go to your channel.
I'll post the top 2 that win. I'll post.
I've been working.
Subscribe to Stephanie. Subscribe, by the way, please. And then you'll
From
get
Dirt We Grow, national update today. Yeah. You'll be able to see all this stuff we're talking about.
All the time for
absolutely. Me. Yeah. Awesome. That's awesome. I'm going to have to go check it out. I'm sorry. I've been busy working on my upcoming show for Tuesday. So, which is a lot of work for me because, like I said, I've been delving into the video world that I hadn't done before. So this is like my 3rd or 4th video maybe that I'll be publishing on From Dirt We Grow. So check that out first of all. But yeah, it's cool. I've been busy with that, and I haven't.
I'll look forward to seeing that.
Absolutely, it's awesome. It'll be awesome. I promise.
So, did we finish with the 527 million thing? I think
moving on. Yeah, we
but anyway, the whole upshot was in MAGA land. If you're Trump, you can get away with $2.2 billion a year. If you're Adam Schiff, and you got 2 properties and somebody made a mistake that they had both as primary, and there was that there was a $70 a year tax break. That's all that he had, and they fixed it.
Yeah.
Because I think his accountants might have done it. Who knows what the reality is?
He
doesn't want to say anything because then it'll just skyrocket. But did you see how ferociously the Fox people and a lot of the right-wing commentators, they should jail him? And I saw on X, there was a picture of a whole line of people, including Obama, my God, in jumpsuits, and Brennan and Clapper and a whole line of other people, Susan Rice. saying that they should all be in prison. The double standard here is amazing. The most corrupt, criminal, and the most incompetent administration in the history of the United States. I think that's what we have now.
Absolutely.
They dare to say that the person of the gravitas and the person of the integrity of Barack Obama
are the ones that need
has
to be
committed treason, which is complete. It's all trumped up nonsense. And this leads me into my next point is they're going after different people and they're saying treason, this, that, and the other thing. It's all concocted. And if anybody wants to talk about Tulsi Gabbard and the way that she's basically misrepresented everything and saying, oh, it's as if they did all these things, that it's just nonsense and it's all threadbare. And I could tear that to pieces. I have on another video. But the theme is the same. Find a Democrat or find an enemy, twist
take the heat off
bureaucratic
of you.
language into something that sounds criminal.
Yeah.
Let Fox run with
and
it,
push that,
publicize it and whatever. Sit back, let all the people scream, and then control the narrative and keep putting this rubbish on. And the idea is it's like the Steve Bannon concept of high muzzle velocity. You pepper as much as you can on every different level you can.
Yeah.
And you hope things stick and you hope people, and what was it? One of the things I learned at uni, or was it high school? I can't remember. It's so long ago. But the concept is if a lie is repeated often enough, it becomes the truth. It becomes
truth. I've heard that.
That's what we're dealing with. Fox News 24/7.
Well, that's what we're dealing with on that side.
Propaganda. Yes. It's just
because we still see the lies for what they are. Even I don't care how many times they repeat them. We're not going to be fooled. But yes, to some people, apparently, if it's repeated enough, it will become the truth. Yes, and that's
why the MAGA fascists are MAGA fascists. It's just like a brainwashing cycle.
Yeah, yeah. It's sad. It's very sad. But
I mean, I'm going to do a video where I talk about the mentality and the whole way that the right's structured. But anyway, Bolton's the big one right now.
Yeah, you have to tell me about that. I don't know anything about that.
Well, he was the national security advisor in Trump 1.0. He served under Reagan and things like that.
And they had a falling out.
Sorry?
They had a falling out?
Big time. Well, because Bolton, whether you like him or not, and he's a Republican, is a guy, though, that is more like chapter and verse and the law is the law. And, you know, the old, I suppose you'd call it Republican classic, as Bill Maher would call them. But the establishment Republicans, well, not all of them, but some from the past had integrity. I mean, this is why Nixon was held to account for only a fraction of what Trump's been up to. And
correct.
The impeachment was going to come through, and the senators basically, they confronted him and said, you know, you've crossed the line with Watergate and all those sorts of things. Yeah, really interesting piece of history. But because he was doing criminal things, they said the president is not above the law. The Supreme Court
said
the same thing. But now, magically, the Supreme Court here turns the whole basis of the whole War of Independence, the idea of representation and not being under the heel of some sort of monarch or dictator or supreme ruler without consent and without a representative system. That's what the war was in part fought over. I mean, it's a lot more complex than that. I'm oversimplifying, but how interesting is it now that the courts are doing these things? But anyway, John Bolton. So he wrote a book called The Room Where It Happens, and it was a tell-all book, and it really exposed the craziness, the insanity, and the lawlessness and depravity, and just so many different angles. It was a tell-all book, and so there was a huge vendetta that Trump said, I'm going to go chase everybody, and that's what he's doing. Bolton is on the enemies list. But also Kash Patel. Kash Patel was also, he had Bolton called him, he was like I'm trying to remember the name of the guy. I did have it in my notes. But anyway, there was a Stalin figure. And so he basically accused Kash Patel of different things. So Kash Patel actually had it listed as John Bolton was on his hit list too.
Imagine that. It's all coming together here. It's all coming full circle, it seems like.
Let me pull up my notes.
He's not the only one to have a tell-all that is obviously being ignored. You know, the girls with the whole Epstein files, and everybody's telling their story and nobody's listening except to Trump.
So anyway, part of how I wanted to frame this was we're watching Trump's promises fulfilled one enemy at a time. And one of the points I wanted to make is democracy dies when law enforcement becomes a personal weapon. And so Michael Cohen, who used to be Trump's fixer, was actually jailed for part of what was going on. And his prediction is more indictments are coming from Trump's critics. I actually saw him interviewed today on MSNBC. What did he say? Because I did make some notes on that.
What else came out today about Bolton? We were talking about earlier.
Yeah. So what happened with Bolton was John Ratcliffe, the CIA director, referred Bolton to Kash Patel. There was evidence of a purge and a capture of the federal government was going on. So, this is evidence. It's showing, like Kash Patel fired a whole of the upper echelon of the FBI. And so it's basically become like a private army for Trump. It's MAGA fascist land over there now.
That's what it was. They searched his home and his office. Looking for what? Looking for some kind of fraud or some kind of mishandling of classified information.
That's right. Because of the information in his book, The Room Where It All Happened.
Come on.
We're going back to 5 years ago. And magically, because that's when he left. And so magically, though, he's going to do what Trump did, like at Mar-a-Lago, where he had so many things there that were there for the Russians and Chinese. And who it was a field day. There's all these classified documents that were sitting in Mar-a-Lago that was open. Anybody could get in there and take them. But that's all right. Oh, yeah, that's all right. No, that's okay.
Of course, because it's Trump. Yeah.
One rule for Trump, one rule for everybody else.
For everybody else.
But this is evidence, though, of the yes women and yes men for Trump. And look at it, Bondi, Patel, and they're given orders and off they go. So Michael Cohen thinks Bolton will be indicted. He predicts that Bolton will suffer the consequences of what Reality Winner suffered. If you remember, there was a whistleblower Reality Winner is her name. And I actually saw some shows on this, and she revealed she was involved in part of the military. She was in the military, and she revealed some secrets to a journalist. And anyway, that's who he was referring to. She's in jail for a long time, even though she was a whistleblower and showed that there was wrongdoing going on. But they found her.
That is absolutely unacceptable.
If you're talking The Guardian, one of the key Guardian people that is fairly high profile, apparently was the one that let it slip, whether it was probably by accident, but, I
just think that's something
Bolton's
that's very
on
unacceptable.
Kash Patel's enemies list. Anyway, sorry.
No, you go ahead with the story. I'm just, like I said, I'm giving my opinion here. I just feel like that's completely unacceptable to have somebody that is supposed to, I can't wrap my brain around this right now.
And but there's so much. This is what happens to people, the overwhelm, because the high muzzle velocity Steve Bannon always talks about. And this is the one thing I really want to talk about. There's a whole massive strategy of things that the MAGA fascists are doing to bring about a dictatorship. Because guys, this is what's happening. They are hell-bent to make America
great again. Do you see it yet?
Like Germany in the 1930s. While we're talking about Bolton and sending in people in the early hours of the morning to go and ransack his house, pull all his computer gear and anything else they can find. I mean, I think there's a couple of dimensions to this and what's really going on. They're trying to scare people. They're trying to intimidate people like Bolton. And I think they're setting a pretext up. I think they're going to go for a crackdown. I think this is what this is. They're going to build the momentum up and say, oh, look how corrupt all these different people are and how evil they are. And we are the white knights and we're going to come and fix it. Whereas, of course, they're the most corrupt, morally bankrupt people that I think we've ever seen. Well, let's face it, politicians, I mean, it's like lawyers
in general.
But anyway, the matter was dropped under the Biden administration because even when they dug around as hard as they could to try and find if Bolton they'd investigated him heavily. Okay, so what happened is on Monday, Trump opens up attacking mail-in ballots and attacking the electoral machines, saying that these things are all fraudulent. So here's what he says. I'm going to lead a movement to get rid of, in capitals, mail-in ballots.
Of course.
And also, while we're at it, highly inaccurate, very expensive, and seriously controversial voting machines. Really? After Fox got sued for what they said?
I mean, the irony, Rohan, the irony of all of this. It's just mind-blowing.
So he's having a go, basically, at the idea of mail-in ballots and voting machines. And why is that? Because more Democrats or people that aren't going to vote for him, more of them are going to do
the working class have to do the mail-in ballots because they don't have time to go and vote.
He's calling it a scam, and he said something that's classic, which is...
I think that might be... I'm onto something there.
What's that?
The fact that a lot of working class people are blue. And we don't have time to go and vote, so we use the mail-in balloting. We use the mail-in voting. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see where I'm going with that?
Yeah.
Does that make sense or no? Am I crazy?
For Democrats, but don't forget there's a lot of working class people that have gone red and have turned to MAGA. So it's more there are more Democrats that do it.
Well, I'm just thinking I'm onto something there. He doesn't like the mail-in voting because people that work don't have time to go and vote. But anyways, go on with your...
That's the key. The key point is that there's you're disenfranchising thousands of people and whatever. But he says that basically...
Well, true. He doesn't care what you're doing. Yeah. If you don't have... Go ahead. Sorry. This is from CNN. Trump falsely claimed in a Truth Social post Monday that voting by mail is a scam that allows Democrats to cheat.
So Trump said, and this is the big part of... This is the killer part, and pay real attention to this because I'm going to blow this thing right up because there's so many implications here. This will blow your mind. We are now the only country in the world that uses mail-in voting, meaning America's the only one. All others gave it up because of the massive voter fraud encountered. We will begin this effort, this is all in caps, which will be strongly opposed by the Democrats because they cheat at levels never seen before, by signing an executive order to help bring honesty to the 2026 midterm elections, blah, 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 blah. Now, here's the thing.
I saw that. Yep.
This is nonsense, and it's true nonsense, and I'm going to tear this to pieces for a start. Here are the facts. Countries that use mail-in and absentee ballots. Here we go. Canada, United Kingdom, Germany, Switzerland, although they have it's a default system for them. That's the way they work. Australia, and boy, do I know that one. New Zealand.
Where do you know that one?
And the United States. That's wrong.
So what was that?
At that point.
Yeah,
and then also available least. And on conditional and request is Spain, Austria, Netherlands, Italy, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, Japan, South Korea, with special notes that the Netherlands, Italy, and Finland are about overseas or abroad voters. And then restricted special categories. India does it for their military and government staff. Portugal does it for overseas voters. And France does it proxy voting. But anyway, everybody doesn't do it anymore.
Oh, right.
Anyway, you had some
call BS. No. Yeah, I mean, if you can just spread the truth at any chance we get, this is what we're trying to do here. So go ahead and debunk that because it's completely false, like you said. But most of the things he does say are completely false. He just makes shit up as he goes along, and it's really getting very tiring.
Yeah, and so the next point of this, though, is he didn't make an executive order yet for this, and I want you to focus remember I'm saying executive orders are a key thing, and I'm going to come back to this. This is the killer thing that I want everybody that's watching to pay attention to because this is killer stuff. In late March, they actually already had an executive order. The courts ruled on it and said no, because in the Constitution, the states are given the full power and have since the inception of the United States in its constitution. For, hundreds of years, the states run the elections. It's in black and white in the Constitution.
Yeah. Well, when has the Constitution mattered to him in this administration? But he's calling himself out, honestly, like as far as saying voting by mail is a scam that allows Democrats to cheat. So this is another thing. He wants to eliminate the voice of the people that oppose him. He wants to shut them out. He wants to shut us out. He wants to quiet us. He doesn't want us to be able, because he knows that Democrats are the working class. He knows that Democrats use, by far and large, use the mail-in voting because we are working and we don't have time to go to the polls. So he knows that is a way to quiet us. He's saying it right there.
I think there's another aspect to this. You're right to an extent, but part of it is too that if you look in minority areas, quite often you have less polls than you do for majority white areas where people go
and
in
they don't have ways to get to
go straight through. But in a lot of these areas in the South, you will have a lot of people that aren't white that are in these long queues that can be 2, 3, 4 hours long, which tells you something. There's not enough polling places. They're not set up right. And
either way it goes.
They made it in some of these southern states or some of these red states, they made it illegal to even have people come and bring water to these people. And yes, they are working people, like you said yourself, but it seems to really be targeted to those people, like if you're disabled or whatever it is. I mean, mail-in voting has been used extensively, and the fraudulent rate has been the absolute minimum. There's so many studies done on this. It's an accurate system. There's a lot of vetting, et cetera, et cetera. Is it going to be absolutely perfect 100% of the time, all the time? There's probably going to be some anomalies sometimes. But if you look at the percentages, it's going to be so small, it'll be negligible anywhere. Even a lot of the Republican people that ran the elections say they can vouch for the integrity, like Ratzenberger and people like that.
Yeah.
The system is tried and true and it works. The reason they don't want this is very tricksy. I think that ICE is being trained up like a Gestapo, like under Goering when he took over when he in the 1933, that sort of time, he took over the Prussian police force, built it, expanded it, got a whole lot of NSDAP loyalists to take the roles and then expanded it. And that's kind of what ICE is like now. It's become like a private army. It's like a secret police force. I mean, they're masked. They don't identify themselves. They appear and they just grab people. And people
don't have to show identification.
I mean, they're not in the systems. So we know that there are some people not accounted for. Where are those people? Yeah. And the question is, where's the oversight? Who's going to stop them if they do roll up? I mean, it's out of control. And one of the theories is that when the midterms, because this is what this is all about, guys, it's like a big chess game, and it's the people against.
They want to get this in before the midterms.
The Christian fascists and who want Gilead, and the other group are the Dark Enlightenment, Peter Thiel kind of groups and silicon sets and all those sorts of things. And they want a techno-feudal system with a CEO that becomes like a monarch. So basically a dictator, but they're secular. So those two don't like each other, but they've both agreed to work together. What do they want to do in the midterms? The last thing, if you want a dictatorship, the last thing you want to have happen is to get to the midterms, have a fair election and get thrown out, and for the Democrats to get control, because guess what they'll do if they get control? There will be committees that will skew in, and all of these corrupt things that are going on, they will be hauled into committees.
He will finally be held responsible.
And it stops legislation from just going straight through, passing the one big beautiful bill, which only got by on one vote, by the way. Yeah, 4.5 billion to the billionaires, 4.5 trillion to the billionaires. And 1.2 trillion taken away from the sick. Healthcare was taken away. SNAP. So,
the elderly, the kids. Yeah.
And why they don't want this to happen is if you want to continue to do like an Orban method where you slowly take over the media, you slowly take over all the institutions, because that's what Project 2025 is doing. They've purged the FBI. They've purged the DOJ. They're in the process of purging the military and all the other departments too. And who vetted them? Russell Vought, however you want to say it. I don't quite know how you say it, but the Heritage Foundation, they have, if anybody's gone through and looked at Project 2025, they're like more than halfway done on a lot of these things. Some are almost fully done. And think of it, it's kind of like tick the boxes. And if you get to a certain point, it's like the Titanic hits an iceberg and then slowly it sinks. But the damage is done.
The damage is done. Absolutely.
We have had the upper echelons, things like counterterrorism, things like, white crime units and things like that. All those sorts of things, they've been diverted to immigration. And who are they chasing? Day laborers at Home Depot or in the field.
Yeah.
Gardeners.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, street vendors, just ordinary kinds of people. And they're
people trying to make a living. Yeah, people trying to make a living, trying to live their day lives.
What they might do is, in the election, put ICE to go and grab people when they're going to try and vote. Either put it in or at the polls. I think on the polls, we're going to see. And guess how much money they gave to DHS? See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They put $350 billion into DHS to go to ICE, and ICE has got more budget than the FBI.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What does that tell you?
Exactly. It doesn't take a rocket scientist, I'll tell you that.
and think about it. Kash Patel has totally taken over the FBI. All the upper echelons are now basically MAGA fascist cronies who are loyal to one person, Donald Trump.
Absolutely. That's who everybody's loyal to now. That's what it is.
How is this good for a country? Doesn't matter whether you're left, right, or indifferent.
Matter.
The ICE part for the midterms is just one part of it, assuming they don't do something and just crack down on everything. Because at a moment's notice, they're saying Obama's guilty of treason, and basically Tulsi Gabbard's essentially, because the penalty for treason is death, she's essentially saying Obama should be executed, really. For what? For her concocted, made-up nonsense. Yeah. But here's the big thing. It's not just ICE to stop people from voting at the polls. Lawfare, executive orders, high muzzle velocity that Bannon talks about, they can issue lots of executive orders, pepper the place, lots. They can put one that says, oh no, the federal government runs the ballots, not the states, even though it's written in black and white in the Constitution. So here's the thing. Lawfare, at high muzzle velocity, they can be punching out these EOs all over the place. So to recap, the lawfare model, this is the terrifying thing about the midterms, or just in general. Donald Trump, as the president, has the power to issue executive orders which are almost like law, except where they conflict with existing statutes or when there are statutes that are created that then override the executive order, or the Supreme Court rules that it's beyond the constitutional ambit of the president. That is, it's beyond his power. If Donald Trump does something, but the Constitution says no, the states have the power, for instance, to run the elections. And then and so there's two weak spots where they can hit. One is it's a 6-3-way split on the Supreme Court, which means if they can rule that Trump is above the law and is basically indemnified and can do anything as long as it's official, basically a king and any other name, and they can totally turn the Constitution on its head, because chapter and verse, that's not the spirit and intent or literally what's in the Constitution. If they can change that, they can change anything. They can make the sky black, the earth flat.
Yeah.
And so they could rule, yes, Trump has powers, and his executive order holds, and that the election should be run by Donald Trump, whoever he appoints, in any way he likes. In theory, they could do that. So would they do that? I don't know. Amy Coney Barrett, I think she's got a bit of a conscience. She might not. Anyway, that's one. The other one is you fire so many of these executive orders in rapid succession that you overwhelm You do that maybe the week before the election happens, and then on election day, you make that EO ruling that goes in. The courts can only handle so much. The ACLU are the champions. People, you've got to. One of the biggest fighters for democracy right now is the ACLU. They are the heroes because the key pillar to our whole democracy and it not falling is the ACLU actually stopping these overreaches. And what will happen is if they're flooded, they've only got so many lawyers and there's only so many courts and you can only issue so many so many writs into the system to have court cases. And if one happens on the day, what happens? They can cause madness and confusion by peppering the place full of executive orders. And Trump doesn't even need to do it. They've got a signing machine, and Stephen Miller and some others that are probably the ones that are the architects for whatever happens. They'll do a Steve Bannon high muzzle velocity and just pump the place full of executive orders, flood the court systems. And so there'll be confusion like, well, the states are supposed to have this in the Constitution, but the executive order conflicts. What happens? Mass confusion, pandemonium. And even if the elections do run on, then there's question marks over it. And you can use those to say, oh, well, really, the Democrats cheated, even though it's all a contrived game.
You're very, very, very correct. I believe in saying that.
I don't think anybody said that.
He is doing everything.
If they have good
right. You're right. I believe that insane. That everything that he is doing right now is because he's scared of midterms and that he is trying to stop Dems at every turn. He's trying to take away their power at every turn. Yep. Every way he can, every which way he can. You're right. You're correct in that. So I 100% believe that he's scared of midterms.
Absolutely.
So now,
and if the House is lost to the Republicans, they're in big trouble because you can imagine the committees will just haul them in one after the other and will rate them, and they will have to testify under oath. And if you break the oath, that's perjury. You're looking, those jumpsuits that they were putting on Obama and that they were putting on Susan Rice and they were putting on Brennan and they were putting on Clapper. They'll be wearing them if they do that and they're caught out.
This is a big realization I've come to here that you've brought me to, but yeah, I knew that he was, doing this crazy criminal activity kind of stuff, but the midterms is shaking him up a little bit, and everything that he's doing right now is to take away the power at every turn he can from the Dems.
It's like a big chess game.
It's scary. This is where we're at, folks. This is where we're at, but we got to wrap it up.
And so the thing is, people, we've covered a lot. Now, I hope you guys have benefited. Are we totally right on everything? Well, we try to be. Disclaimer.
Probably. We're
both individuals, just ordinary people like you, researching and trying to make sense of this craziness. I hope this is a benefit.
No sense.
Stephanie,
to be made.
It's great having you here because you're the voice of so many ordinary people. And what you're saying is you're seeing this now, right?
I've been seeing the craziness, but yeah, what you're saying, absolutely. I see where you're going with that. Absolutely. That's totally their agenda right now. Absolutely. Yeah. I 100% believe that.
Democracy is at stake and freedom. And if you're talking about what George Orwell wrote about in 1984, we don't want to live in a dystopia. We don't want a Gilead. I mean, seriously, who really wants that? Or who wants a techno-feudal nightmare of surveillance? And we can talk about Palantir and surveilling people and all that.
I mean, that's a whole other Gavin Newsom's doing what he's got to do. I know that. I know that. And that's what we need. We need more people standing up like that, that aren't scared. That aren't scared. We didn't even get to
talk about the redistribution in Texas. So that's all right.
Well, no, we'll do that for another time. Yeah. We'll save that for another time.
Fantastic to talk with you. Always a pleasure.
As always.
I know that your time's short. Thank you so much for being my partner in crime.
Right. Partner, yeah. If we go down, we're going down together, Rowan.
The political catch-up will stand.
Yes. That's right.
I hope this has been interesting.
We'll go down fighting.
Guys, if we're going to get the message out, we really need your support.
It's so important. It's so important.
Democracy's on the line.
And we appreciate it.
And we're just the humble troops that are out there of people that are praying that the democracy holds.
We're just trying to do our part.
Against all odds.
We're just trying to do our part.
There's more of us than them, far more. But they're determined to take away your freedom. That's what's happening. Yeah. Dictatorship
Let your voice be
is
heard.
Coming. We're already more than halfway in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're here to at least try and shine the light on key parts of it and make some sense of this.
Keep the truth alive. Keep the real truths alive. So that's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. We're here for you. So we appreciate you. Thank you for being here for us.
Thanks, everybody. Good to see you. All the best. And we'll catch you in the next Political Catch-Up.
Next time. Thanks, guys.
Bye, Stephanie.
Bye-bye.